Okay, everybody, welcome to the last cast. Today we're here with Jesse French with Blue Rock Custom Tackle. Lips is back on the show today, so we're here brought to you by Jan Dills, attorney at law, and we're here at the Great Ohio River Outdoors. So, Jesse, we'll just start and make it real simple. You're the owner of Blue Rock Custom Tackle. Obviously, it's our preferred jig. We like your spinnerbaits. Would you care to tell us how it started or where this... A little bit about yourself.
Yeah,
I mean, how you got into fishing.
Oh man, there's a bunch. I'm getting up there in age. I'm sneaking up closer to 40 here. So I know I look like I'm 24, 25, but it is what it is. Let's see. I'll just start with a little bit about myself. I guess grew up fishing. Grandpa moved the family down from Whitehall in the late 70s, early 80s, and got a job at Central Ohio Coal. I grew up in a little town called Chandlersville, and was very privileged. Grandpa had the keys to the gates, which is what's now known as the Wilds, and a lot of gated haul roads. But boy, we got spoiled at a young age, and we actually ate a lot of bass because during reclamation out there, the surface coal, they were just going to kill them. So, boy, we filleted some, or I watched Dad fillet some big fish growing up.
So how old were you when you started fishing?
My first memory of fishing was, I'd say I was about 4 years old. We had a little community pond. And we were catching channel cats. I remember, I vividly remember, the catfish squealing, and that was kind of one of the first, cool things, Dad told me the fish was talking to me. And, I think for the next 2 or 3 years, I'd become obsessed with fishing in general, and had been drug around bass fishing with Dad. And, Mom finally convinced Mom this pond was about, I don't know, a mile from where we lived. If you drove around the road, I could walk to it through the woods when I got older. I did it every day on summer break. But I convinced her when I was about 7 or 8 to take me by myself and just drop me off, leave, and she was going to come back in a half hour. Well, all I had was a little beetle spin. And by God, I caught about a 12-inch bass. I still got the picture, got him on a stringer in the yard, and all by myself. And then my passion for fishing was really, I was addicted for life from there. And then just progressed on. Didn't fish a ton of tournaments until I played a lot of sports in high school and stayed really busy with all that. But got out of high school, dropped out of college, I'd say at least a half a dozen times. And then 19, 20 years old, me and Dad started fishing Wednesday nighters at Dillon Lake, and just kind of progressed. He was always really into saugeye and muskie fishing, but he's in his mid-60s now and getting ready to retire. And I'd say I've got him fully addicted to fishing bass tournaments at this point. So try to make time to fish and all that good stuff. But
so how old were you when you got into tournament fishing?
He took me to a tournament on the Muskingum River. That's what I wanted. I think it was my 10th birthday. I told him I said I want to go to fish a tournament. That's what I'm watching Bassmasters, and back then, you're watching TNN Outdoors and Bill Dance and Roland Martin. I mean, that's so I'd learned about tournaments just through TV, and then he took me. I think we caught one little keeper. We got our tails kicked. There's a old boy named Mark Fuller. He's passed now, but he ran the table on the Muskingum for a good long time. Heck of a fisherman. And I'm still good buddies with a lot of guys that fished with him as well.
So when you first got into tournament fishing, you obviously became a guy that makes jigs for a living and baits. Where did the transition from fisherman to production of baits? Like, were you just one of those guys you kind of started off trying to save a little money, so you started making baits
Yeah,
yourself? And
yeah, dude. Unfortunately, like
it's an
I'm
expensive
telling you,
hobby.
man, like we'll get into some of the business side of it if you guys want to, but
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
so I wasn't super old when I threw a shaky head a ton. That's a great bait at Dillon Lake. You know these little mud puddles all around Ohio. A shaky head. The Ned hadn't really become a thing yet, which is also a great bait. But I basically just bought a shaky head mold. Had a little room in the basement, the little utility room and the furnace and all that was in there, but set up a little table and then um, started just dealing them out to 3 or 4 buddies and make a few bucks and buy another mold. And then next thing you know, I'm making some jigs and um, got this bright idea at one point. Um, probably a year or two in. I got the bright idea to try to pay my tournament fees, for the year with it. So started hustling them on marketplace and stuff on like Facebook, some of the bigger met a guy through that that bought some stuff named Jason Ruger. He's from Kentucky and he happened to know how to build websites and just
So what year are we talking now?
so this would be oh geez, let's see. I would say what are we 25? So I'd say this would be around 13, 14. We've been a legal business for I think 9 years now. So um it was a couple years before that as this transition into, you know, learning if you're going to have a small business, you got to pay taxes and have an LLC and just the typical progression from a hobby to a business. But
So
um,
what'd you do before fishing, if you don't want me asking?
oh man,
'Cause you said you're almost 40,
just
so
blue collar, dude. Like I said, I tried the community college a couple times. Had the opportunity to wrestle or play football at some smaller schools. I just um, had a lot of other things on the mind at that age, and decided to go to work eventually. And I worked in a juvenile court system for about, oh, my first, I don't know, 7, 8 years out of high school. And then just got to a point, had our daughter, Addie, she's 12 now, when I was,
so you had a newborn when you took a leap of faith to go into
yeah,
business.
she was about yeah, so I worked a long time. I didn't leave my day job till about 5 years ago, like full time, and I still hustle and do other things to make money. Like, if it's a time of year when like the store orders slow down and stuff, like, I'm just an average American man. I'm not too proud to do something to make some extra money. Anybody that's in tackle, they know it's a tight, it's not a get rich quick. You don't become a million. I mean, it takes years and
It's
years
a
just to build the inventory side
it's a
of it.
saturated market too.
It's very saturated, tons of competition.
Well, I mean, like you mentioned to me in one of our first conversations, you said, I'm no Berkeley.
Right,
And
right,
and
right.
you can't think for a second that, especially whenever you get into a place like here, that Berkeley's aware of and Missile Baits are aware of, that they're not going to start trying to hustle you out to prevent
Right,
competition. I
right.
mean, it's not like the road was paved for you and easy.
No, no,
Yeah.
and it's been a slow grower.
It's a good product though.
Yeah, it's I've been thankful for whatever or grateful for whatever reason. Just I like the way my business has grown. It hasn't taken this gigantic leap where I got to worry about getting a big credit line or looking for investors.
Shark Tank.
Yeah, something like that. and I've heard that so many times, but I mean,
They're probably looking for something a little bit more original.
yeah, right. It's not that type of business, man. I mean, I feel like we're kind of a throwback. Um, you know, I don't want to ever have like a bajillion SKUs and a bunch of gimmicky products. I always looked at companies that were known for like just a handful of really solid products. That's a more efficient tackle company.
Well, I mean, realistically, I'm guilty of it. Everybody is, where you have a bunch of those. I'm not going to say all of them are gimmicky baits, but where you have 7,000 baits in your boat,
Right.
and how many do you use?
Right.
I mean, honest
right.
to God, every time I go out there, I want to start off with one of your jigs is most likely a Sabotage swim jig in the summer. If I'm flipping, it's going to be a 1099.
Yeah.
I mean, you have like 5 or 6 styles of baits you use, and you just have to find that style. Like you have to find the jig
Yep.
that you like the most.
Well, and you'll notice in the last hour of that tournament, whatever one of those products you're most confident in, it don't matter how many you've caught or what they're biting, you're going to have your most confident bait in your hand.
Yeah.
And I want, ours to be that to people, rather than, chasing trends or chasing, you always got to be innovating. And I mean, it's constant. You need to make this, you need to make this, you need to make this. But like, I still feel like our business is young enough to like continue to build this foundation. Like we've definitely got a couple products, the 1099 and our spinnerbaits are super popular.
Sabotage swim jig.
The swim jig,
Yeah. I'm partial to that one.
the little tube hooks and the tubes, like
I use those.
and that's just a handful of things. So if you can reach customers with just a few good products, I'd rather have a business like that than trying to reach new customers by adding a new product and every week and losing efficiency. And it's just a quicker way to fail, I think.
Yeah.
It's more inventory, man.
Expand too fast and you've got too much money sitting out there.
Well, then you got to start relying on money from other people to catch up for everything.
Right. And I'm thankful to this point. Like money's gotten tight, but like the business doesn't owe me anything. I don't owe the business anything. So I'm thankful we've slowly grown and made relationships to the point to where, at least up till today, like I haven't had to like take any like gigantic risk or put my family in jeopardy. You were asking about jobs and work. I mean, I worked as long as I possibly could until it started affecting me mentally, losing time with my family every night in the shop till 10 o'clock or this or that. But I basically, to answer your question, kind of got rambling there, but I worked in the juvenile courts with kids for 7-8 years, left there to make some better money, worked at a water department, got some water licenses for 5 or 6 years, and then the last 3 or 4 years I worked for ODOT, just highway worker, which I thought that was going to be the job that like freed me up to where I had all this vacation time I could build up, but like snow and ice really got in the way of trade show season. And I didn't like being the guy that was like letting my boys at work down. So I finally just made the decision to kind of, with the support of my wife, of course, like you got to have that. I mean, if your spouse isn't on board for a pipe dream of selling fishing baits, it definitely ain't going to work. And she's been a huge part of, the numbers side and the spreadsheets. That's not me. So it's a family business.
I'm glad she stepped in, though. I mean, because of her, we have you.
Yeah, dude. She's helped me so much. Tons of people have helped me. Super thankful, man. We've had, people that don't have to, like, have just.
Well, a good example that we were talking about, your buddy Bussy.
Yep.
We met him at a show last year, and he just loves your product so much. He started talking up Blue Rock jigs, And, at first, I didn't even realize they were right here in the store.
Didn't either.
Yeah. And after he talked your product up for a while and we came here and told Doug, like, hey, you need to get these jigs. And he's like, they're in that aisle right over there. I mean, think just somebody like him walking around that likes your product enough to advertise it for you.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I've had people tell me, we've got a cult like following, or we've just got like, an amazing amount of support. Like we've got buddies everywhere, essentially. And like, that's, like a guy like Doug that has such an awesome store here and could put anything in here. Like guys like Buddy are what helps guys like Doug give a small business like us an opportunity. And, Doug makes big orders. He's got an awesome store here. Gets,
bigger than any Bass Pro you'll be in.
Right.
Yeah.
I've told serious fishermen with confidence, like from a long ways away, like if they hit me up needing something at a tournament level, because a lot of times a buddy will just hit up a buddy and say, hey, do you have such and such? I'm out. And I'm like, go to this store, Ohio River Outdoors, and they will have what you need.
It spoils you
They will
too.
have what you need.
Well, we traveled a lot last year with the Fishers and Men division, the one that Dustin Dennis puts on.
Yeah.
And there was like twice. Once was at Chautauqua, once was at Smith Mountain. Get down there and they were biting on something that we didn't really bring a whole lot of with us. The one day it was a Berkeley Maxent, and we all know like 2 bites with a Maxent bait, you might as well throw it in the water. I pulled out the one bag, it was green pumpkin purple fleck. I pulled it out and I was like, this is the last bag I have. And we hadn't even started tournament day yet. And we had been there a whole week, couldn't get a bite on nothing except for that pull. I remember pulling that out and started getting bites, and we're like, oh, thank God we're going to catch fish. We drove to 4 stores up there and not a single one. We were more likely to find those baits at Walmart than we were in a tackle store. Because
we went to a Bass Pro Shop and they didn't have anything.
Never fails, man.
No, most places nowadays you have maybe 3 sections of what Doug has here, 3 aisles, and the rest of it is all that gimmicky stuff you want to talk about, or it's going to be shirts, hoodies, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, so
we went to one of those stores and was asking a local fisherman. I said, what's the biggest store you got around here? And he's like, oh, it's over here. It's called this. We go in, it's legitimately the size of this little cutout in Doug's store, and that's all.
And it was the best store.
The entire building.
It was the best store at Smith Mountain. And I mean, heck, there's like 20 pros that live right on that lake, and this is the biggest store they have there, and there was nothing. And I mean, I'm not knocking nobody to have what you were talking about, the growth and the money to have it. Yeah. I'm sure to have this inventory, Doug had to really have his pennies in a row and take some risk, like because there's probably $1 million worth of rods hanging up here.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand like that side of small business, just the inventory. And, a lot of people just walk in here and just be like, oh, this guy's rich. Like it took a lot of sacrifice somewhere and a lot of investing.
Growth
instead of taking that $100 you made with your first sale and spending it on something, you put that $100 right back into the business.
Turn it over. That's what I did, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and the website thing started, and some trade shows, and just kept. I mean, for years I didn't take a dime from it. Heck, I got in a position one time, had an opportunity to fill a big order, and I borrowed money from my daughter's savings. I mean, I paid her back with interest, but like that's typical. Like I did it with permission from my wife, but like that's the struggles small businesses go through.
That's what people don't talk about.
Yeah, and you can't just walk around acting like you're a millionaire, because I mean I'm not, and like. The brand has definitely grown and gotten awareness, but like I have people constantly tell me like, your stuff's everywhere, this and that. And I'm starting to like own that like we have grown a little bit, but we're still nobody. But I just don't see it because it doesn't always reflect in the bank account. Even if you're growing, you just got to spend more money. I've got a couple part-time employees now. Just taxes. I mean, it's just, not complaining about it, but it's just.
So you're telling me that the thought that everybody has of a bait tackle business kind of guy, we all imagine you wake up at like to noon on the winter, in the fishing season, you wake up early enough to go hit the water, and then you get off the water at like 10, holding 5-pounders, and that's not the dream that everybody's thinking you're living.
I fished less last year than
Yeah, buddy.
I have probably in my whole life. And, part of it's due to the fact that I pride myself on being a family man and I'm not going to miss certain things. Our kids are active and
They're only young ones.
right. So, I definitely lose money or leave money on the table. There's a couple, I'd love to go do the Bassmaster Classic and sell there as a vendor, but my daughter's state tournaments that weekend every year, and like it's one I just refuse to miss. So and you can't spend $7,500 for a booth and just send a couple buddies down there and hope it all works out.
Yeah.
So
and do yourself a favor. I don't know if you put any thought into this, but if it comes down to the Red Crest, like as another option, don't. We went to both.
Buddy, vendors talk. I know where to go and what to do.
The Red Crest was so disappointing for us.
Yeah.
Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family, or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062. Hey, are you or somebody you know a veteran that needs help fighting the VA for the benefits that you deserve? If so, you need to give Jan Dills a call. I can say from personal experience that Jan Dills and her group of attorneys will fight for you to the bitter end. If you're fighting the VA, you need the attorneys that won't take no for an answer. Give Jan Dills a call today at 877-755-7183. Hey, y'all. It's Jordan with the Getting Bit Fishing team, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thanks for checking out our podcast, The Last Cast, filmed in the one and only Ohio River Outdoors, located at 13520 Emerson Avenue, Williamstown, West Virginia. If you've never been here before, this place has absolutely everything a fisherman can need. Come swing by today. Come see Doug. Trust me, if you've never been before, it's worth the trip.
We went there. We went to the Classic the year before.
Yeah.
And was just astounded with how much stuff they had to sell.
Right.
What all
The
you
pros you seen, the pageantry of the weigh-ins and everything.
It was like the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was like going to the Super Bowl. And then you go to the Red Crest, and it's like going to your mom and pop's crafts show. It was so terrible.
There's there's something special about a hardcore Bassmaster fan. MLF's MLF, but Bassmaster just has hardcore loyal fans. And like my buddy Nick Folks, he's owns Folks Custom Crankbaits. I travel a lot with him for when we do shows, and he's done a couple classics. And like I was asking him about it going back to Knoxville next year, thinking about possibly getting a booth if we could figure it out some way or another. And he said, because we do the East Tennessee show, it's in Knoxville as well in January, and I was like, would it be worth it if you go to 2 Knoxville shows? And he said the classic crowd is just a completely different crowd. It's like they come from all over the world. And
there was people from like we were in South Carolina.
Yeah.
We were next to Charlotte.
Hartwell,
yeah. There was people from like Vermont and Maine that drove down there. And there's one guy, he's like, man, as long as it's not in California, I'll be there every year. And we're like, why not California? And he was just, don't like they're lost. He's like, I'll travel to any other state. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that, so one, and then when you go to the Classic, there's a bunch of stuff you could do. There's a lot of deals, a lot of price. Your headset good? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 3 for 100 rods and
I've still got some of those.
The funniest part
everybody's walking around carrying 10 fish, 10
buckets and fishing poles.
The Cast King crankbaits. Is that the one I'm thinking, right? The ones that you liked so much?
Arc,
the Arc crankbaits. So we went to the Classic one year, and they had Arc crankbaits on sale, and he bought
2 for 1.
Yeah, he bought enough that he was giving like handfuls of them away to us before we left because he had probably 10,000 crankbaits. Well, anyways, he went through all of them that year because he can lose a crankbait anywhere
pretty quick.
Yeah, he can lose a crankbait pretty quick. Well, anyways, we go to the Red Crest the next year, and we go to the first thing he's looking for is the Arc booth because he's expecting the same deals. we get there, and
And
they're
they
like,
got those Brandon Cobb rods that are really good as well.
yeah, the Brandon Cobb props are. Anyway, so we get there, and there's this little display, and he looked at the guy, and he was like, "Is this all you have?" And this poor little Japanese dude was like, "Yes." And he was like, "I'm taking them all." And he just
I walked out with like $350, so really $700 with a little.
it was day one of the
bags.
record. They
I was
didn't
like,
have,
sorry, man, I don't know what to tell you.
they didn't have anything else left to sell for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, that's
Day and night difference.
what I always say as a vendor. If you sell out, that's a good problem to have. So that's better than the
He did it
alternative.
for one felt swoop.
I am
And you
getting
gotta
pretty
think
low.
how many guys like you are walking around them shows, looking to
Spend a lot of money and get
load
good
up
deals.
on
and-
something
Yep.
or find that product that fills that niche. Like we just, like I said in the beginning, I kind of see us as a throwback company, but you wouldn't imagine the guys out there that just are looking for, a solid little jig like the 1099.
One of the guys that taught both of us how to fish is that guy.
Right.
Yeah, if you could ever get Alan White to endorse your jig, you'd sell more jigs in the state.
Well, that's the thing. Like guys like that, just last weekend in Columbus, like, there's some very guys that I respect that are, 20 years older than me. They maybe don't give me the time of day for 3, 4, 5 years, but like when you get a compliment from a guy that's like, "Hey man, I pretty much tried not, I pretty much avoided your stuff on purpose, but like there's so many people catching fish on this jig. Like I just wanted to tell you, like it's a great jig and I'm throwing it now." So that's a compliment from a critic is like the best thing you can get. But you also take the criticism as well. You don't grow without, taking both. And I try to pride myself on being a pretty even keel dude and, accepting it all. But at the same time, you have to be confident that you're doing the right thing as well. So the old 1 in 100, there's always someone that just isn't happy with something either. But that's just how the world is in general.
Yeah, can't make them all happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. As far as jigs go, there's only a few things you really look at, right? When it comes to, or at least I do, whenever it comes to jigs. Number one, yours holds the paint really well. I've never had issues with my paint chipping off a lot. I love to flipping.
Right.
So the paint always holds up really well. Another thing I always look for is the consistency, just to be able to get through the eyelet, because there's a lot of jigs you buy that you can't. They just dip
That's
it.
a huge point of emphasis for us.
Yeah,
You got to get something poking out.
Yep, I've
another
never had
hook.
that issue with your jigs. Third thing I look at is a hook that's not getting dull every time I do something with it. I mean, yeah, your hooks are solid. I've never had issues with your hooks dolling up on me. I'm not just sitting here trying to kiss your rear end about it.
The keeper, your keeper is one
bro.
of the-
Yeah.
The
Top
keeper,
notch.
yeah.
It's a pain in the ass to build them that way. That's just
So
another little
worth it.
trinket you have to put in the mold. But
Yeah.
For anybody listening that doesn't know, he has a built-in keeper that comes up to where I'm a big super glue guy, but if I'm using your stuff, I don't have to
don't
worry
need
about
them.
the super glue.
it's just basically a wire keeper like you would see, like similar to one on a jackhammer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little metal keeper, but
They're on your spinnerbaits too, if I remember.
yes,
right.
yeah, they're on the jigs, spinnerbait, triple threat. All the molds that we had custom made for our brand, and the funny thing about that is those are also the products that have sold the best. So that tells you there's some value in investing that money.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got an idea, or you and a buddy have an idea, to take that extra time and spend that money for a custom made product. And it just it's yours. I think it helps you become a brand when you're not just selling which I did it for years, but just the do it brush jig mold. I mean, that's what I started off with. But when I kind of transitioned into, we started pouring our lead in it's called spin cast. I don't know if you guys have ever messed around with it, but it's basically like a circular machine that spins real fast. It's got a port that goes down to it, and these molds now are silicone, and you can lay it's like a pie that cuts in half. You lay all your hooks around, close it, put it in a machine, it spins real fast, and you dump the hot lead in the machine, and then you can pour, 15, 18, 20 at a time. And that's, that's where the custom, it's all a bigger investment upside. I have guys reach out to me a lot, like, that are hobbying and are like, hey, I saw it because we put TikToks and stuff, like our processes. And I'm not hiding anything. Like, it's a super secretive industry, but like, um, hard work is what elevates you. But guys will ask, like, about the spin cast, and the biggest thing with it is just the upfront investment. So if you don't have the need to have to pour 1,000 hooks each time you fire that machine up, then don't spend thousands of dollars on a spin cast machine. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of
So
one of them things, I guess.
You ever thought about doing any tungsten work?
So
I was going to get there.
I mean, here's the deal with tungsten, and this isn't a knock to anybody that sells it, but like, to my knowledge, at this point, it all comes from China. Always has, due to emission laws in the United States. Tungsten is pressed at a really high temperature,
Yep.
and it's higher than the US EPA allows. Now, there's rumors that something is getting approved, maybe in Alabama, to where one of these big tungsten companies is going to be able to start doing it. But like, up till that point, if there's a tungsten jig you're throwing or a tungsten flipping weight, which we all use,
Came from China.
they pretty much all come from one or two places in China.
Really?
Yes. So that's to answer your question. I like making our products. I don't really like dealing with China a ton. Like, say I took the 1099 and turned it into tungsten. Well, now I'm mailing my jig over there that's kind of helped elevate my business. Yes, it's going to be tungsten, which is cool, but now you got to worry about being extorted and copied and
The
all,
logistical,
yeah,
getting everything across.
you'll get an email from a Chinese company, marketing to you, and you'll see the 1099 as a sample picture on there or on Alibaba. So that's why we don't mess with tungsten. We do sell some tungsten flipping weights just to have, but I get asked that a ton. Like,
I did not know that about tungsten.
yeah, not
coming
a
from
lot
China.
of people do because the businesses don't market it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're selling a tungsten jig.
Well, a lot of people, if they knew that all that tungsten was coming from China, they might just switch back to lead a little bit.
Yeah,
Right.
well, not to mention the entire first part of this podcast was you talking about the quality of your product from how you pour it and stuff like that, and just hard work, putting in the effort. You turn it over, if you turn it over to China or a Chinese company, even though it's still the 1099 jig, it's probably not going to be the same quality that you wanted, whenever you was putting it out before.
Right. Yeah. And there's just a ton to worry about there. I mean, it's hard to get around like some things, like you talk swivels, skirt material, this, that, like, components almost they either come from, I either buy things direct from China, or I'm buying them from somebody that bought them from China and just is making a middleman.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to the point now, like it just makes more sense. Like, if it's something like you can't, you just have to, like, if that's where it's made, that's where it's made.
Yeah.
But,
You're not to completely turn over the production though, like you would if you had tungsten.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We cast all of our jig heads in the shop, and that's, why we use lead, because I like controlling that, and it keeps a lot of overhead off of the business. If I switched everything over to tungsten, I'd have to be always looking 4-6 months ahead, order 5,000, 10,000 of something,
Then
and
might set on it.
tie all that money up.
Mhm.
You know what that equals? That equals stress, and I don't like that. I don't like that in my life. So,
Are you into that?
Yeah.
So off the topic of Blue Rock baits, I've seen some of your TikToks, and I've also seen you had a YouTube video from you guys in the classic.
Yeah.
not the Classic, the Challenge,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. So you're obviously a very fluid fisherman in a lot of other baits other than just, blue rock
Right.
jigs and spinner baits. I got to ask you, whenever it comes to fishing around here, just locally, our kind of waters, outside of your baits, and obviously you like them, but outside,
yeah.
what's your go-to tactic? What
Man.
what do you like to do?
Geez, I mean, naturally, just being a river rat, I've always leaned on the spinnerbait and the small jig and, the little beaver style stuff. But
What kind of trailer would you recommend for the river with a spinnerbait?
so I do it. I do it two ways. Earlier in the year, and this may be all wrong if we're going to get into technical stuff. Set my water down, but earlier in the year until about, I don't know, I feel like the spawn, maybe into early June when you're on the tail end of the spawn. I like running just a small boot tail. We've got a little 3-inch hydro shad. Throw it on our little quarters. And then bigger 3/8 and half ounce, I'll throw like a Kitech style, just the swim bait. I don't know why, but I feel like earlier in the spring that little extra profile and that little extra vibration when the water's muddy. But then in the summertime when it starts warming up, I'll throw nothing but just a trailer hook. I don't run a trailer in the summer. That's just always been my personal thing. I don't know why. I feel like I can pick up and slow down the speed more without the paddle tail on it and stuff. But in the spring, I'm typically just steady fishing that thing. Um, it's I'm no Kevin Van Dam, but in my head, it's worked for me. So
What about top water? I think in the video I watched of you at the
yeah,
ORC, you guys were tearing up with some top
yeah,
water.
that was I caught a nice smallmouth, I think, if I'm thinking of the right video, and it was a little like a spook junior. I think it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
actually a saltwater spook, that particular one that I drilled it out and have BBs in it, all this weird tinkering stuff we do. But
Go
yeah,
figure the guy that owns this bait and tackle
right,
company is out there
right.
tinkering with his baits.
Yep. And my buddy Tommy my buddy Tommy that I fished that tournament with, he just lives down here in St. Mary, but boy, it's hard to get that blue rock spinnerbait out of his hand. Like he throws a lot, but
I'm not gonna lie, on the river, it's hard to get a
yeah,
spinnerbait out of my hand.
right.
I like spinnerbaits on the river.
Yeah, me too. But as far as topwater stuff, I like to throw that little buzz bait a lot on the river. Especially if you're in a creek, not so much on the main river. For some reason, I'll lean towards like a small pop R or something. But if I get back in the creeks, I love that little black 1/4 ounce buzz bait.
Yeah.
Again, just weird. I've caught plenty of fish on a buzz bait on the main river or on the Muskingum, but seems like you get back into some of that water that's almost feels like it's getting stagnant. There's something about that little buzz bait when you start seeing that scum laying around and just enough to where you can throw it. I lean on the buzz bait pretty hard and that kind of stuff.
So me and big guy here used to not really be big buzzbait fishermen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what. It's probably our 3rd year into this. We won our first like big tournament, right?
Yeah.
So we had a tournament. We were getting ready for the ORC that year, and actually that was the year you couldn't fish it.
I got hurt earlier that year. He had to fish with another buddy, and then it was the very end of the year. We were practicing for your last tournament.
Yeah, me and Alan were going to
Yeah.
fish the ORC, and you were fishing. It was whenever the West Virginia Buddy Trail, the river Buddy
Bass
Trail.
Extreme is
No, they were.
no,
It was just
Bass
called the Ohio River Buddy Trail. I think was the
Yeah,
name
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Mitchum, I think was who was putting it on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Anyways, we showed up there because they were fishing the weekend before the ORC, and we take off down the little canal, and we were just throwing spinner baits and buzz baits because I was just wanting to cover water. And again, we were not believers of spinners baits and buzz baits on the river this time because we were pretty new to fishing. And we get like a 1/4 of the way down the little canal, and we were 2nd or 3rd fish in. I turned around, I looked at him, and I said, "We're not practicing anymore. I think we're going to win this thing." And he said, "You think so?" And I said, "Yeah, we need to start focusing on winning." We throw a spinnerbait and a buzzbait the rest of the day. He caught one on a crankbait there at the dams at the little canal. But we won that thing.
Really?
And ever since then, you can't get a. There's
Nice.
always a spinnerbait and a buzzbait ready to go.
on the boat.
Nice.
Yeah, on the boat. I mean, You can't beat the basics.
No, there is just something about a little spinnerbait on the river. I mean, everybody talks about the old Timmy Poe. Like, that's what I want people to be talking about. You know, when I'm really old, like, I wish I could get some of them Blue Rock quarter ounces. You know, like
You got any of those left?
that's what you want. I mean, that's cool. Like, I think about that stuff. Like, when I hear guys saying that, and which, you know, there's guys that have a few, or like some knockoff molds or whatever. But you know, that was a legendary, still is a legendary spinnerbait. And not even just on the Ohio River. There's guys that like to throw that at Indian Lake, and
That's kind of like
all
the
all
Uncle
that stuff.
Josh's pork.
Right.
Before it came back, man. The same guy I was telling you about with the jigs, that he's probably the most well-known jig fisherman around here. I think whenever Uncle Josh's went out of business, he told me him and his dad went and bought, it was like 80 some cases of Uncle
Nice.
Josh's pork rinds. And he still has 2 cases left
Yeah.
from whenever they went out of business.
Yeah.
He's starting to get kind of worried though, because the new stuff came out and he's like, it's not the same.
It's not. You know, as soon as they dropped them, and I mean the prices were god awful when they re-released
You ain't
them.
joking, $11 or something like
yeah,
that.
and they're half the size as they used to be. And
3 in a
just,
pack, 2 in a
Yeah,
pack.
it's just not the same. I was all excited, and it was just kind of like, nah.
Yeah.
You
but
know,
if-
it's never going to be the old big pork chunk and pork frog and all that again. But
so do you tournament fish now? Or
yeah, oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
okay, so well, I know you said you were busy, like a lot busier, obviously.
Yeah. So, the last couple years, I religiously fish a club called Run and Gun with Dad. He enjoys getting out, and I know those days aren't going to last forever. So, I probably put aside some bigger stuff that I would like to fish, just because I know, he had a real extensive back surgery a couple years ago, and the year I fished the BFLs, I fished all of the Buckeyes there like 3 or 4 years ago. Did really good. Had to finish great in the points, but like I didn't fish with Dad as much that summer, and boy, he was like, I could just tell it was affecting him. Like, he was a little heartbroken. I laugh about it because we're hard on each other, and he's not the dad that's ever going to say, "Damn, son, you've become a pretty good fisherman." So, but he runs around town, bragging about you when you're not around. So
Yeah.
He likes Blue Rock
love
stuff,
him to
right?
death. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have a good time, man. We're a little too alike out there, but me and the old man have had some great days on the water. We've won a few bucks together. I'll say
That's
that.
good.
So,
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what fishing's about, right? Family,
yeah,
kids,
it's
getting everybody.
man, yeah, we've had some, yeah,
Now, do you have a
great
boat?
memories. Yeah,
What-
I run on I've got an old Stratus 201 Pro XL.
Those Stratuses are nice boats, aren't they?
Jeez, yeah. I've been in a predicament the last couple years because I just, the price of new boats, and I
You know a guy.
I do know a guy for sure, but I want to repower it, man. I've rode in some of these newer boats, and like I've
So you like the way the Stratus handles?
I love the way it rides, and I love the way it handles bigger water. Like, I've had like lifelong guides come.
Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family, or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062. Hey, do you live in the Mid Ohio Valley and need a good, affordable, reliable residential contractor that can take care of all your construction needs? Well, look no further, because Bowser Construction on Dudley Avenue in Parkersburg has you covered. They specialize in doors, decks, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, and room additions. So remember, just call Bowser at 304-485-6930. Hey, are you or somebody you know a veteran that needs help fighting the VA for the benefits that you deserve? If so, you need to give Jan Dills a call. I can say from personal experience that Jan Dills and her group of attorneys will fight for you to the bitter end. If you're fighting the VA, you need the attorneys that won't take no for an answer. Give Jan Dills a call today at 877-755-7183.
Up to me up at Missouri, like when I was, had been fishing at Lake Erie, and I've had this boat it was like my first nice boat I bought when I was probably around 30. I bought this thing. But he's like, never sell that boat. He said, I've seen these new Phoenixes and Rangers snap in half. He said, you've got one of the best hulls, ever made right there. And I've rode on a lot of boats just doing the fishing that we do now. Some of the newer, I'm really impressed with some of the newer stuff. The Falcons run great.
Oh, I was
the
getting ready to say,
Icons run great. But
I was a diehard Stratus guy. My first two
Yeah.
boats were Stratus, and
I have his second boat now.
yeah, honestly, if Stratus was still around, I'd have been pressuring. So whenever if Stratus would still be out, I'd be hounding Seven Rivers to try to sell Stratus. To be honest
Oh,
with you,
yeah.
I like their boat so
Yeah.
much, but I don't know if you know this, but Falcon's hull is just a 201 hull.
is it?
Yeah, expanded. I guess one or two of the engineers that designed Falcon was one of the designers
Okay.
of.
That makes sense because I've got a really good buddy that's got a couple buddies that have Falcons, and they are a great, nice, cushy ride when you're in some chop. And
We've had his well, you've got an 06. It was yours a 199. It's not a 201 or mine.
Yeah, the one that you have now is a 294 Pro XL.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And it'll handle it, but when we got out on his that next year, I mean, it is a little bit more stable and it will take a wave
Right.
just so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I'm probably getting there as far as buying a new boat, but geez, I hate bills, number one, and
You're not walking away with one of these without a payment.
right.
Yeah.
And my boat is white, and I've taken pretty good care of it. And I don't have to. There's no like faded gel, so it still looks really nice. I mean, it's not an old boat. I mean, it's a '05, so it's getting old. But like the '05s, at least look. They don't look like an '85.
Exactly.
So
Modern.
Yeah.
I'm not super insecure about, and I'm not a big, advocate of the fastest boat or the newest boat.
But those Stratuses will move.
Right.
You're probably what, 73, 74 mile an hour rig?
I had a 28 on that thing when I bought it by myself, and I had it mid 70s, but I'm no small boy, obviously. When we're loaded down, it's a 65, 66 mile an hour boat.
The one he has now, with me and him both on it, I had a 26 Tempest on it originally.
Mm-hmm.
We could do about 70, but we were tacked out.
Yeah.
And then I went up to a bigger, actually, I didn't do it because I wanted to. I did it because I left a lower unit down at Gallipolis during practice. And whenever I got my new lower unit, I decided to go up a prop size bigger.
Yeah.
RPMs came down, but I could run a solid 68.
Yeah.
The only thing I hated about the bigger prop was it started to get a little bit of a chime walk just because there was
Right.
more pitch to it.
Right.
But now with this Falcon, it's a pretty solid 70 mile an hour boat.
Yeah.
I mean, 65, 68's about where I like to be. I mean, I'm old Tommy. We fished the challenge in that bullet of his, and you want to talk about some cheeks flapping? I mean,
I don't know if
That's,
I'd get in a Gambler or a Bullet.
dude,
I don't know.
He's told me several times, he's like, if you ever get a Gambler, I'm not fishing with you anymore.
Yeah, he likes to go fast. I had never been in a bullet. I'd never been in an 80 mile an hour boat, and it doesn't seem like a lot going like 70 to 80, but when you hit that 80 mark and he like looks over and like points to the GPS, like you're going 82, 83, like there's not much room for error right there.
Well, my only concern is not so much the guy driving the boat, because a lot of guys that you ride with, especially at that point, they don't want to put their big investment at risk, right?
Right.
So they typically know how to drive. But it's that ghost wave.
That's-
It's that.
Oh yeah, we've hit one of them.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
that sneaky barge wave that just lingers along a little bit too far.
The worst one's those dang houseboats or whatever, man. They'll be
in Gallipolis.
Yeah, they'll be 7 miles up river from you, and you just all of a sudden and then The next thing you know, you see like 20 people on this big boat, just 10-foot waves rolling off the side of it.
Ridiculous.
So, do you follow any of the river trails, or do you just?
I've got a lot of buddies that fish. I've never personally fished the Bass Festival. I know that's a big one down here. But I follow along, and just through the business, I stay in touch with a lot of guys that do well, or sometimes they don't do well, or this or that. But they
I'm
get
one of those guys.
they
Sometimes I do
they're
well.
always sure to holler at you and give you an attaboy if they had a good day on your bait. So that's how I've made a lot of friends. I mean, through this business, it's crazy.
How long have you been in Doug's? How long have you been here?
Um, I'd say probably 4 or 5 years now.
So at
And
least 3, yeah.
it was just the typical, probably an entry level order at the first go around, and he he reached out to me, and I didn't even know about the store, I don't think. And this was kind of when I was probably still working, so it may have been like 5 years ago. But he just said to stop by, and stop by. Obviously, super nice guy, and you know, hey, give me your best stuff. And at that point, I didn't have a ton of products,
Right.
but as Doug being Doug's, just every year he's anything new, he trusts me to put the things in here that I know are going to move. And that's my favorite customer, from a dealer standpoint, because, um, a dealer can order at times and think they know your products, and they completely miss. And then it's like either gets off to like kind of not a rocky start, but if sometimes they put a little more faith in you, it could have gotten off a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, nobody knows your product better than
well,
you. At the
it's
end of the
more of
day.
like a regional thing. If you put a bunch of, Great Lakes stuff in a store down in Alabama, it's not going to do well. So we've had a couple of them, but I'm pretty good at finessing around and giving them the best advice. I never I never push more product, but I'd like to maybe swap this out for this, because I want to get placed in a store, and I want you calling me in 2 weeks saying, "Hey, we're out of these. We need more." And then, aim small, miss small. I'd rather them feel like I've got a product that they need more of than overload them and them feel like I, pulled a fast one on them, especially starting out. Like, that's just it's about building relationships and longevity, and that, slowly doing that is the way to go, I feel.
Yeah. So, is a majority of your sales online now, or?
Yeah, let's see. I would say it's probably getting to the point to where it's the stores are keeping up. Now, we naturally make more money on direct sales online because you don't have the wholesale and all that. But um, there's three different funnels that we depend on as a business: trade shows, online, and then retail stores. And they all work and help in each way. Like trade shows, there's a couple that we usually do really well at and make some money. There's a couple we'll always try to go to, maybe one in North Carolina or Alabama, and it's like, get new customers, don't lose money. Like,
Yeah.
get the brand out. But um I can honestly say we've never gone to a show and like lost money, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I try to keep these college kids and stuff involved and give them a little money to run around with me, because like I'm getting older and losing touch with like uh
You realize that one day, don't you?
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying that I'm not cool, but like
You young whippersnappers with your new words and things.
yeah. Well, I look at it this way, like, the kids, if you can get these college, like, we had an opportunity to link up with the Ohio State team this year with venom and stuff and all that happening. So we kind of jumped on the opportunity, and like they're just, having all of them involved and helping, like,
They're the future of our sport.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
it's another, it's, if I can help them and support them and they buy into us as people and a business, like, I'm like, that's another, 10 plus years of like good customers and uh good
Not to mention
support.
one of those kids makes it big time.
Right,
You
Yeah.
helped them
right.
get there.
Yeah, there's always that too.
Well, and if I'm a dad paying for my kid to fish at college, and I see their jersey and see a Blue Rock logo on it, and know that you guys gave them some money, gave them some
Right.
tackle, I'm all in for the company that helped my kid.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
even if it's not my kid, if it's my buddy's kid,
Yep.
I'm all in.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
We get a ton of that, and it's hard because like this time of year, especially, it's probably daily. I get an email from a high school kid or a high school team, or
Yeah.
oh man, and it's like
where some guy named Jordan want you to come on a podcast and hitting you up for a sponsorship at the same time.
It's kids. It's and like, don't take offense to it. I just, because it's hard for me because I have a big heart, and I give a lot. Like, it's just, but at some point, like, you can't, you can't lose money and have a business either. So I try to get creative and help in ways like, hey, if they're wanting a bunch of money, well, hey, maybe we can take this product and you can do it. The college kids, you can raffle it off and then maybe raise you 7, 8 thousand bucks by being creative with what I can provide you. But like, a small tight little business like this, like, it's man, it's a tight bottom line at the end of the year, and every dollar that I give out or help, it could be something that I just, really really need, and it adds up when you break it all down at the end of the year.
So something a lot of people might be curious about. I know I am. You see the price tag on any jig, be it your jig or like a Bitsy
Right.
flip jig or something like that. You don't have to give us like exacts, but the margins on just about any bait. People probably think that there's these astronomical margins, and just by the
Yeah.
way you're talking, you can kind of tell that.
It's so the thing that runs the prices up, are when you probably go retail, because say I was just an online company and that's all I was ever going to be. So I could sell that $6 jig for, 3.89, $4, still make some money.
Because you're
But
not feeding a middle person.
yeah, so
Yeah.
when you go to retail, well, they, typically want about 40% off. So there goes that,
Yeah.
right off the rip. And at the end of it all, the prices going up are just so I can continue to run my business the way I was running it. It's not the prices go up and I'm making more money.
Right.
Hey, y'all. It's Jordan with the Getting Bit Fishing team, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thanks for checking out our podcast, The Last Cast, filmed in the one and only Ohio River Outdoors, located at 13520 Emerson Avenue, Williamstown, West Virginia. If you've never been here before, this place has absolutely everything a fisherman can need. Come swing by today. Come see Doug. Trust me, if you've never been before, it's worth the trip. Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family, or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062. Hey, do you live in the Mid Ohio Valley and need a good, affordable, reliable residential contractor that can take care of all your construction needs? Well, look no further, because Bowser Construction on Dudley Avenue in Parkersburg has you covered. They specialize in doors, decks, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, and room additions. So remember, just call Bowser at 304-485-6930.
So you're talking about the price of a product, the margins and this and that. So like I said, when you start going retail, that's what really drives products up, price wise. So there's a bunch of different reasons for that. Obviously, materials are materials. There's guys making them, selling them at flea markets, going, oh, don't buy that Blue Rock jig. I'll sell you one for 250. Well, okay, and that's great. I was once that guy, but like I take that personally now that we've grown a little bit, because like now that I'm an actual business, you have to be legal and this and that. But like I said, that extra money isn't going in your pocket. You've got 40%. You've got say you got a rep group, they want 10 to 15%.
Like if
They're
I was going around selling to Doug
Yeah,
for you, I
yes.
would get a
You want
portion.
10, 15% of that. Um, so there's a federal excise tax on manufacturing tackle that I would say, you know, a huge percentage of guys that are going around to shows and stuff are not paying. But anytime you make or manipulate a product, you owe 10% of the wholesale price. So every quarter, I got to count how many jigs I sold, anything I make in my shop, and I got to send the IRS a check of 10% of
On
the,
top of your,
yeah. And then you got payroll tax. As you grow, like that's what drives prices up in any business. So when you're paying that extra money, you're just basically supporting the business so they can be in
so they
business.
can be reputable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean and maybe we could order our jig heads from China and sell it for $5 instead of $6 someday, because we're doing so much volume. But like,
I'd rather you just keep going the way you are, and I'm still able
yeah,
to.
and the prices have finally gotten to where it's like, okay, I can pay my reps. I can, um, not that we do a ton of that. I mean, we're not in a bajillion stores, but it's like, um, there's just the way I always tell people is like, starts out as a big old pie. Everybody's got to get their little piece, and
And
then
you're
when it's all
last.
done, I get the crumbs.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
mean,
you're
but
last.
at the same time, like, I have the business, I feel like as a brand, like the business may be starting to build some equity. I don't want to sell the business or this or that, but I want to grow the business. So I think that's the goal, just to make that the brand of Blue Rock valuable. Um,
You're
so
pretty well there, in my opinion.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
like I said, you had a guy up in Ashland, Ohio, selling you, and I mean, he was in the hog trough tank, so
right.
he's traveling around giving you a lot of
Oh yeah,
value.
dude, and you spoke on someone getting a break on one of our baits. I had a good buddy. His name's Andy Fryer. Um, I mean, he was a good buddy before this, but he won the TBF Living a Dream package on Lake of the Ozarks. It's been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He won, the Ranger boat, and it was $125,000 package, and he had one spinnerbait, and he caught all of his fish except for, like, he had a 6 pounder on the first day, caught it on a tube, and then the second day he went in his pocket, tied on one of our 1/2 ounce double Colorados, and he caught both days. He caught the rest of his fish. He said he had to basically go swimming twice because he got it snagged. And he still got this thing like hanging on his trophy. It looks like it's got put in a blender, but he caught, and he's sold a bunch of spinner baits for us, and he just dropped a really cool YouTube video on Alum Creek throwing our spinner bait right before the expo, and it was hard to keep those little white quarter ouncers in stock up there, because he believes in them. He's a good fisherman, and like he's making the product shine. So those types of guys are uh, like I said, dude, this couldn't be possible. Not that we're anything huge, but like the support I've gotten from friends, like from the beginning, like it's not me at all. It's just people people wanting to help and do business with us. Like
Well,
that's
you make a good product, so it's easy to stand
yeah,
behind you.
yeah. I mean, that's it. You make a good product. That's what I told Doug right before this started. Like, make a good product, treat people fairly, Don't
Everything
pull.
will work.
Yeah, just I try to be straight up, and just like we had the sponsorship talk, I wasn't going to bullshit you.
Yeah.
Like, you
It was
know,
really
but
upfront.
yeah, I mean that's the only way to be.
It was
'Cause
$100,000, by the way, for anybody asking.
I didn't just say, yeah, Jordan, we'll work something out big time for you, buddy. Just keep selling our stuff, like, because some people would do that, but
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm going to tell you, what I can do. I
Well,
mean, there's no,
you've proven it, like we've said before, though, just being that guy, one, having pride in the product, right? You obviously like to fish yourself.
right,
I'm sure there's a lot of guys that make baits for these big $1 million companies like Berkeley, for example. I'm sure not every guy in Berkeley fishes. I'm
Right.
probably the CEO doesn't even fish, if you
Right.
want the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, so I'm not going to say that as a fact,
So-
but you have a guy like you that you fish with this product. So if it works, you're catching fish.
yeah,
You're like us, you know what it's like to work for a living. So you make a product that lasts, which to me is the biggest thing. If I buy a jig, aside from me losing that thing myself, a jig should be the most durable bait in your tackle
Right.
box.
Should last forever.
It should last forever, and yours have, except for the ones I've lost. Which I'm not going to say that's beyond me. I'll find a log every now and then. I'll set the hook on that thing.
no, I ain't hating on that at all.
yeah, right. That really helps you
No,
out occasionally.
I call it a use it or lose it, or use it till you lose it jig, and that's the best way I can describe.
Boy, that's a hell of a
products.
name for a jig right there, bud.
Yeah,
Yeah, the used to you. That's actually
use it till you lose it, because we
that'd be a
called it
good
the
product
10 or
name.
We called the 1099 like we wanted it to be like the Cadillac of the Bitsy Bug category.
Well, it's a great. The 1099 is a great name because I didn't get it, and then Buddy was like, "Yeah," and when you
Yeah.
cash a check with it, I was like, "Oh, that's a good name for a bait."
Right. Yeah, it's dude, it's a hot little jig for us, and just like you were just speaking about guys using maybe that are sponsored, or we I'll tell you, like, off the record after the podcast if you want to know, but like there's a couple, I mean, one of them is maybe the best in the world, and there's another guy on the Elite Series that's with a big jig company that he comes and finds us at every show he can, and
He'd probably appreciate you saying that offline too.
I'd never do anybody dirty like that.
Now let's make this my
No,
most
it's-
viewed podcast.
It's just humbling. Like,
Yeah.
it's freaking cool as hell, man. Like, no, you got to be good at keeping secrets if you're selling baits, because you hear a lot of guys' stories, and that's the only way I do well in tournaments anymore, is because I know everybody. So anytime I win for the rest of my life, it's because I get all the information, I guess.
I'll tell you what, sometime you could pass some of that information along to me and I'll help make your bait look good. 'Cause
I don't seek it out nearly as much as you would. I mean, I'm a very stubborn dude, and I try to pride myself on not being that guy, but
You hear a story, sometimes it just sticks.
oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I'll put that in the memory bank.
Yeah.
well, not to mention, I mean, again, you do own your own bait and tackle company, right? So I'm sure whenever guys see you, they want to tell you stories, whether they're trying to hit you up for a sponsorship or they're just wanting to talk to you about your baits. You probably get full information that they're never going to give me or him.
Yeah.
Because it's just giving away information,
You'd be surprised. It's kind of a weird deal, man. Like there's a lot of guys that, especially more around the house in Columbus, like they, they've been using my products for a couple years, but didn't want me to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the opposite reason. So it works both ways. Like
Fisherman, man, you can't.
It's cutthroat out here for sure.
So I know you're wrapped for time, so I know we got to cut this off. I'd like to have you on the podcast again. There's a lot more stuff I'd love to go into.
Yeah, we
it.
can do this again. I'll need to come down at some point to grab some stuff, I'm sure. Or, we usually drop off an order later in the summer as well. So
How close is he to Ashland?
Ohio.
I'm not too far. I mean, I'm only an hour from here. I'm just
he's closer to here.
Go back up to Marietta and drive straight up to Muskingum. I live right on the Muskingum. So
yeah.
Okay, that's even better.
Yeah, we can get him on the podcast pretty easy again.
I thought you said Columbus. I figured you were like 4 hours away or something.
No, I'm basically where I live is in between here in Columbus, so I'm about the same distance to go up there.
So you don't have to drive.
Fish Buckeye Lake and Alum Creek and all that good
There's a
stuff.
couple lakes I'd like to fish sometime.
You're not far from Erie then.
I'm about 2.5 hours still south.
Hell
But,
yeah.
yeah, it's not horrible.
That would be the best investment Blue Rock right there could make is a lakefront house at Erie for.
That's a lot of jigs.
That's a lot of jigs. Yeah, I would. I'd say that the only place you're going to find more expensive than a house in Erie is probably Chautauqua. I don't know if you
Chautauqua.
those houses
That's
there.
a place I've been talking about
All
wanting
good.
to get to for a couple of years.
Well, we fished there like 4 years in a row, and every year until this year was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You go there, catch 100 fish a day, you catch big fish.
Yeah.
We went there last year and had a tournament there.
They'd sprayed for the grass and
Now,
some
was
other
that
stuff.
considered a finger lake?
No,
No.
It's
no,
not.
it's not considered Finger Lake.
Okay.
No, they sprayed for last year, and so Chautauqua, it's all docks all the way around.
Yeah.
And the pattern, it's always every year that we've had the tournaments from one with like 25, 26 pound fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every person I've talked to, and there are people I know, so I know it's true. It came down to what type of dock you was flipping, not whether you was flipping docks, because everybody was on a dock pattern.
Yeah.
And it'd come down to were you in 6 foot of water or 10 foot of water? Was it metal or was it wood?
Mhm.
And this time around, we took a whole week off work to go flip
Yeah.
docks, and we were going to win this thing because we knew we could show up, and they weren't on docks at all. We fished docks for 3 days. And
They were gone.
It was terrible.
It's because
So
where they sprayed.
what series is this?
That was the
Fisherman.
Fisherman, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've got a good buddy named Dean Yoder. He's tied in with Miller Tech, but he raves about Chautauqua every time I see him. And I don't know what the series is up in Northeast Ohio. It's either Dew Bass or X series or something of that nature. But they always have their championship up there.
It's a great lake.
And everybody says it can be hit or miss for the smallmouth, but a lot of
Yeah.
guys talk about
So,
the docks and everything.
I
for
caught my
largemouth.
PB smallmouth.
Did you?
Actually, I caught my PB with smallmouth twice this year. Once at Erie, and then the next was at Chautauqua.
Yeah.
I reset my record. I caught one that was right at 5 at
Really?
Erie, and then I caught one almost 6 at Chautauqua.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Nice.
picture doesn't do it any justice because like he was standing way at
Nice.
the back of the boat. So I mean, it doesn't look huge in the picture, but I remember like whenever we picked this thing up out of the water, and like I was holding it, and I remember thinking like I've never held a fish this big for one. Like I just remember thinking
Right.
like I'm holding a guitar in my hand. But before it even dawned on me how big it was, he was like, "Dude, you just set a new PB." And I was like, "No, it's not that." Yeah, it is. And I caught it on a blue Gary Yamamoto Senko on like 6 pound
Nice.
test from like here to way out yonder, and I was just popping it through some grass. I remember I lifted it up and I was like, I'm snagged. And then I started reeling, I felt it coming with me, and I was like, oh no. And at first I thought like it's just a tiny little fish. And then about that time he darted up out of the water, and you've seen that huge smallmouth flip like that. And I was like, ta, ta, ta. And then he came up with the net. And I remember the whole time I was just thinking, this is a 6 pound test. I haven't retied since yesterday. I'm an idiot.
Lights flashing before your eyes.
Too bad it wasn't a tournament. It was the day before the tournament we caught that thing.
Yeah.
And then it was the last day of the tournament. You got one about 4 pounds on the top water, same
Yeah.
spot.
Really?
Yeah, so at Chautauqua, if you can figure out the offshore structure, which we were forced to the last day.
We had,
Yeah, if we wanted to catch a limit and not be the only guys to show up without a limit, there's some great offshore structure, and it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to figure out because there's not a whole lot of it.
Yeah.
I'd say if you went up there and you had the mentality that I'm going to make myself fish offshore and not do the thing that I really like to do, the smallmouth are always on there.
Yeah.
And because every year, I mean, there's usually somebody's competing for the win
Yeah.
with a smallmouth, and you're looking. The guys from Seven Rivers, they had 2 26-pound bags, and they had them both within the first 15 minutes of the day.
Yeah, I've heard that early morning story a couple times up there, Fast and Furious.
Let me know when Blue Rock wants to do a big video shoot up there. We'll take the Battle Bird.
I'm ready, man.
Yeah, we'll go up there. Yeah, buddy. I like the idea of that. So,
It's a nice area too. It really is a nice area. I mean, it's New York, but it's almost no different than here.
yeah, it's definitely the countryside of New York.
My favorite place probably is from a desolate standpoint that I've been is probably Dale Hollow. I don't know if you've ever.
I want to go there.
It's there's a lot of places on that lake you don't even have cell phone service. So if a little pointer, if you do go to Dale, it's good to have 2 boats because you can get way up one of them rivers, and if you go to turn it and nothing turns, it's probably a good thing to have a buddy that'll come looking for you. Actually.
Dale Lake, pretty big lake.
Dale, yeah, it's a big lake.
There was a big MLF there last year, wasn't
Oh
there?
yeah, it holds some big big MLF tournaments for sure.
It's Kentucky.
It's become it's become a live scope lake. That's how they're being.
That's why I want to get you back on the
It's
podcast.
Kentucky Tennessee border.
That's okay.
It's like there's parts of the lake that are in Kentucky, parts that are in Tennessee. But this time of year, if you can go down there and catch them on an A rig or shake. There's a lot of big fish that suspend. It's world record smallmouths out of Dale, so it's got giant trophy smallmouth, and
It's my kind of lake.
the limit is made to make them big. Like I can't remember. I fished a BFL down there few years back, but like you got to target largemouth because you can only weigh in. I think it was like 2 smallmouth, and they have to be 21 inches. So it's got to be like a 5-pounder.
Yeah,
So it creates a ton of 3 and 4 pound smallmouth.
which is
If you just go
amazing.
down there cranking points and stuff in March or April, you'll catch some beautiful smallmouth.
I already got my bags packed.
Throw
boys.
a jig or spinnerbait. It's a great spinnerbait lake.
We went
fun.
to Erie
You're
last
starting to
year.
sweat thinking about it.
I
Yeah,
did.
we've got a couple older YouTube videos on there.
I'll have
I'm
to check 'em
basically
out.
just spinner baiting for largemouth, but it's fun. It's a fun lake.
We went to Erie last year, and
Hey, are you or somebody you know a veteran that needs help fighting the VA for the benefits that you deserve? If so, you need to give Jan Dills a call. I can say from personal experience that Jan Dills and her group of attorneys will fight for you to the bitter end. If you're fighting the VA, you need the attorneys that won't take no for an answer. Give Jan Dills a call today at 877-755-7183. Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062. Hey, do you live in the Middle Ohio Valley and need a good, affordable, reliable residential contractor that can take care of all your construction needs? Well, look no further because Bowser Construction on Dudley Avenue in Parkersburg has you covered. They specialize in doors, decks, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, and room additions. So remember, just call Bowser at 304-485-6930.
and probably had the best 3 hours of our lives. Just come up on one of those outer walls, and you could just see the smallmouth just everywhere. Just you could just see him.
Really?
I'm
this on
I'm
like
throwing a
May
blue
or,
rock
like-
tube, and he is throwing. You were throwing a.
I think at first I was throwing a spinnerbait or something.
You
but
and then you
couldn't
went
get a
to drop shotting,
bite. Went to drop shot.
and we probably caught 30 apiece in 3 hours.
Really?
Nothing under 2.5 pounds. It was some of
So
the
they're
best fishing.
spawning?
No.
They must no. It
No.
wasn't spawned. This was June or August.
Yeah, so they
Oh,
spawned
okay.
later up there, but it was like a whole school had just pulled off the main lake into
Nice.
Dunkirk. And we were just there at the right time. We'd fish Chautauqua all day, and I was like, dude,
And,
let's go fish
yeah.
Dunkirk. And
Nice.
we show up there, and they're all there. And we tried for an hour, couldn't get a single one to bite. We threw jerk bait over them. We tried everything, spinner bait, and then finally I threw that drop shot on them with it was flat nose worm.
Yeah.
Threw it right in front of it, and I seen him as soon as it landed beside him. I seen him just turn, and I was like, "Oh!" And then he bit it. And I remember once we caught that first one, buddy.
It was
3
on.
hours later, the next day, we were driving to the lake, and I remember both of us were just like, "Oh, my arms hurt."
Just
This
from
is
fighting
so
smallies.
awesome.
Good hurt.
Oh, it was
Oh
great.
yeah, but so before we wrap it up here, couple things. Is there any new products or anything you want to shout out to before we wrap it up? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple goals this year. I've been working on a flipping beaver for actually probably over a year. I gotten kind of a deal where the molds just didn't end up how I wanted them last year, and I actually bought a bunch of molds, and the final product just wasn't from a custom
Yeah.
standpoint, wasn't a product that I want to sell. So I had to just kind of eat them and recoup some of that new product money. I'd like to, keep innovating into that live scope stuff. That market down south, it's a big
It's
a big
everywhere
thing.
now.
Like
Yeah.
we got to get us a minnow of some sort, and I've been working with some of these college kids because I mean they're freaking so good at it, man. Like, so I've been bouncing a lot of ideas. I've had an idea for a minnow that may be a little more unique than a lot of them that are out there. So, hitting these kids with like, tell me if I'm an idiot type questions, and but I like the direction things are going there. And then from you know those are ideas for plastics. I've been in talks with a couple people about maybe making like a really super compact spinnerbait. Um, I don't know what the company is, but I actually just had a store tell me that they sold like 700 of these little dudes a year, and they
Is
discontinued
it the one
it.
that I was just talking to you about down in South Point, the tackle box that went over?
No, it's not
Okay.
that one. It was like a big brand.
He knows the spinnerbait I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
But basically, they told me if I could kind of replicate that, they'd buy enough to pay for the molds and everything. So that's probably something you'll be seeing. It'll take till probably midsummer to get the ball rolling. But I try to get things going. Have a few people test it out as through fishing season, and then try to release new things usually around Halloween because couple reasons.
Put it in our trick or treat bags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, then at that point, like if it is a unique product, at least you're close enough to show season and spring to where it's not going to be getting knocked off greatly. But and another reason I just do it in the fall is because ICAST is in the middle of summer, and why not just be different?
Yeah.
So, that's another goal. I'd like to be at ICAST someday.
Me too.
I think we're a couple years away, um, from a standpoint of like just a brand and money, but we'll be there. So it's an expensive place to be as a dealer. So
I always end the podcast with this. Whenever it comes to being in nature, fishing, hunting, whatever it is, there's always an aspect of like a spiritual aspect to me that makes it more special. So I always like to ask people, is there a special connection to God or anything like that, that one you pass along to your children, or two, just realizing maybe the beauty of what you're getting to witness is.
yeah, dude, that's a great question. So, um, I'm definitely a man of God. I don't get to church as much as I should, but I teach it to the kids, and we preach all that. But from where you're going with that question is yes. I pride myself on being a avid bow hunter as well, and time in the woods is the same as time on the water. There's nothing like watching the sunrise on a crispy November morning, and man, just there's something more to it. Like
Yeah.
nature tells you that you can't put your finger on what it is, but like and I feel bad for people that have never got to experience it. Same vibe as a foggy morning on the water. You're out.
Fog delay at the ORC for 4
Yeah,
hours.
no
this year.
fog delays. Just you're out there. Just the sunrise and the whole scene. Like, something created this for us to enjoy.
Do you get that same feeling whenever?
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, yeah, man. Like cold chills.
I'll
Like,
tell you, if you like that whole feeling there, one of the most beautiful lakes, Chautauqua, again, first thing in
Yeah.
the morning, especially in August. I don't know, the colors on that lake are just so
Yeah.
vibrant first thing in the
you
morning.
get up north, things get pretty. really
Oh,
cool,
yeah.
for sure.
I mean, it's one of the most beautiful lakes.
Yep. Yeah, no, dude, 100%. I that was the best question you asked me the whole show, and definitely definitely a believer in all that stuff, and I'm very thankful to have been raised in a humble little podunk town, and redneck country, or in hill jack, or whatever you want to call it. Thankful.
Wood ticks is what we call.
Yeah. Whatever led me to be able to enjoy that, and put that above money and lust and all of these things that people chase. I'm super thankful, for that. So
Amen to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
great question.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up with probably, aside from that, one of the most important things that's going to be here for old Jesse. What's the name of your website?
bluerocktackle.com. And also wanted to give a quick plug. I'm a co-owner of the Great Lakes Fishing Expo. It's a couple years old. We just had our second one. I just want to mention it because I think Doug wants to join us next year. He
Yeah,
came
buddy.
up and he joined us and had
Where's
a
the
good
expo
time.
at?
It's in Girard, Ohio, just north of Youngstown, and it's
Oh.
going to be in early January. You'll see the ads or something, I'm sure.
You'll see us. I would
Yeah,
say.
if we
Yeah,
can make it, we'll be
cool,
there,
man.
buddy.
Yeah, we'd love
Yeah.
to have you guys.
Yeah, I'd love to show up for
Might
that.
just
We
put you to
love
work.
going to expos.
So
like
if you're
that.
close to Youngstown, I guess one last thing, we got to meet up and go fish Mosquito Lake sometime.
Absolutely.
I like that lake.
Absolutely. That's probably my favorite lake in the state for sure. I mean, I put it up there number one as far as just pure quality. I mean,
It's a nice
quality
lake.
and numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's you can take your boat off pad about anywhere in that lake and
I was
make
telling, it's like a
blind
giant
cast.
bowl.
Yeah.
It's just 10 foot deep,
It's
one side to the
it's
other.
just grass, and then tons of cool offshore, just old. There's so much to learn. There's so much I don't know. Stump fields, stump roads, old culvert beds, and foundations, and just grass and grass and grass as far as you can.
If you like a frog,
Yeah,
if you like throwing a
Yeah.
frog, that's a lake for a frog
Yeah.
right there.
yeah. We could do a whole podcast on mosquito.
I'm down for that. I like that lake. So you said bluerocktackle.com?
Yeah, Blue Rock Tackle.
And what was the name of the expo again?
The Great Lakes Fishing Expo. We're on about all social media with Blue Rock Tackle. Google us, you'll find us somewhere.
Not hard to find, and better yet, they're right here in Ohio River Outdoors.
Absolutely.
You got 2 aisles actually. There's one that's all of his jigs. Well, actually 3 spots. One, your jigs are in one spot, spinnerbaits are with the spinnerbaits, and then you have a row of plastics back here
Yep.
for your soft plastics. People watching this, I know we have a lot of river fishermen. I will say it again: the keeper on his spinnerbait makes it worth buying alone, but the spinnerbait's great on the river, and the tubes. The tubes are also great on the river.
Durable. I really like them.
Yeah, really durable
Yeah,
baits.
pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell there's a lot of pride in the product that you have. We'll finish it up with we got to thank Jan Dills for putting this on. Got to thank Doug for letting us here at Ohio River Outdoors. Got to thank Jesse for being on here from Blue Rock. Well, it's been a year now. We've been trying to get our schedules lined up.
Man, I apologize. It's just there's something.
Go figure. I almost had him right around deer season, and I get a text message like, "Hey man, I really want to go hunting this weekend."
I shut that down. Yeah, it's the rut. Sorry, we'll get back to this. No, it wasn't anything like that. But
did you do good at least?
No,
Should have been here.
I never did get on a good buck this year. I've got a few on the wall, and I've gotten a little pickier with age. But I hunted hard with my oldest. She's 12, and
You know why you get
she
pickier,
had a
right?
couple. What's that?
You know why okay, so the reason you get pickier with age is just because, like my dad said, the older you get, the less you see yourself going down 3 hollows to chase that deer down and try to drag it out.
That may be it.
Yeah, you start looking at him and going, is
Yeah.
he really worth the amount of effort it's going to take? Because
I'm telling you, it has a little bit to do with it, but regardless, I'd love that's where I get a lot of fishing all year, and then when I go sit in a tree stand, that's my like month of or 2 months or however long it takes of just kind of quiet.
it's kind of funny, you talk about fishing and you're here all year. People look at me crazy whenever I'm like, because most people are just waiting for fishing season. Don't get me wrong, I'm anxious for fishing
ready.
season.
I'm ready.
But by the end of the year, man, I am just so ready to not talk about fishing for a month or two because,
Yep.
again, really blessed to have everybody that's on this jersey paying for me to have my dream,
Right.
But to make all of this happen, and just the same with you, there's just so much that goes on behind it. You're ready to
Lot
see
of
a
work.
deer.
Yeah, I'm ready. Just I enjoy all of it. Back to that nature aspect. It's there's something out there that calls me to go be alone in the wild, and it resets me mentally and just kind of re-prepares me to start the whole cycle. I'm thankful I love to hunt so much because it balances everything out for me.
It's actually a good plug-in for the way to end this right here because aside from the God aspect of it, I've mentioned I'm a veteran. Same reason I'm out in the woods is I developed PTSD after I got out of the service, or developed PTSD while I was in the service. But whatever that is that calls me into nature is where everything inside of my head that doesn't make sense anymore goes away. Yeah. Which is a good time to say again, because I know you're chomping the bit to get out of here.
No,
appreciate you being here. Jan Dills, thanks for making this happen, and for all my veteran friends talking about peace of mind out there. Dial 988. That is the Veteran Suicide Hotline. So anybody that is needing help with that, either find your peace out in the water, get a hold of one of us. We'll help you find your peace out in the water, or dial 988 for anybody needing help. With that, again, thank you, Ohio River Outdoors. Thank you, Jesse and Blue Rock. Thank you, Lips, for being here. And we thank you guys at home. We'll see you next time.